Namco, am I right? Of all of the successful and truly praiseworthy video game developers, and in particular within the context of the golden age of video games, Namco was definitely at the top of their class, what with their seemingly endless flow of absolutely classic and memorable titles. From the ever immortal and recognizable Pac-Man and several of its sequels, as well as the classics Galaga, Xevious, Dig Dug, Rally X, Pole Position, and the Tekken series later on, among many others. It is no stretch to say that Namco is responsible for a vast and significant portion of the video games, imparting several positive memories of the arcade upon their players. However, as is common with 34-year-old software, many other titles never fully achieve the success of those listed before, causing them to fade into obscurity. Not surprisingly, this happens to be the case with Namco's own debut effort, the confusingly titled GB, unrelated to Planes Warfare or Bees. Released in 1978 and developed by Toru Iwatani, the legend who would eventually go on to develop Pac-Man, GB generally appears to be simplistic and even somewhat boring at one's first glance. And while some snarkier members of our audience may argue, ah yes, well it is, to which I respond, shut the hell up, it is definitely a notable departure from Namco's later, more vibrant productions. Though this is somewhat understandable given the fact that most developers would still be comparatively just learning how to pursue an idea, program, and experience that displays said idea and action to finalize the environments to appear appealing due to this being their first game after all, as well as how, when compared to many of GB's contemporaries such as Gunfight, Sea Wolf, Space Invaders, and Breakout and Super Breakout, GB actually appears to be arguably more colorful and enticing in terms of overall gameplay appearance, which is especially true due to the fact that many of these were developed with incredibly limited software and hardware capabilities. With that aside, one may also be able to observe that GB's gameplay is highly reminiscent, even litigation-worthily similar, to Atari's aforementioned Breakout, given the dial-based kaboom-esque paddle-manipulating, ball-batting, block-bursting, obnoxious sound effect projecting good time ever so present in this title. However, in Namco's defense, there are select gameplay elements that don't completely rip Nolan Bushnell and the Waz off. Rather, Iwatani-sama also decided to insert the addition of bumpers, often present in the time-honored tradition of CD arcades, pinball. See, not everything they copies from Atari. Anyway, plagiarism aside, one may also be recognized as a seriously challenging and frankly BS sense of speed, particularly this game's fascination of taking a complete 180 and freaking out with hyper-swift physics at will, presumably out of offense from you insulting its boring color palette and graphics earlier, punk, as well as this game's at times frankly brutal and seemingly cruel unnecessary difficulty in the form of throwing out all of your progress on the board just out the window upon your dropping the ball into the abyss, which, on another note, is an entirely too often occurrence due to the fact that this game has a preference of possessing nefarious, unavoidable empty gutters, which seems to be a complete disappointment, even in comparison to GB's contemporaries, and its greatest influence, Super Breakout, which saved your progress upon death, proving that it was definitely possible at the time, and on the same hardware. Even as a self-styled, low-ranking game wizard, this game appears to be highly unfair at times, which almost entirely ruins any possible enjoyment in this game. And while it is definitely not the worst thing I've ever played, especially for its time, GB is certainly not anything particularly special, and Namco seems to agree with me on this, given its general absence from a majority of game compilations and a lack of mention today. Even with the Japan-only Namco Museum Encore, which was specifically aimed at the re-release of uncommon and obscure titles. And I would personally recommend playing either this game's sequels, Bomb B and Q2Q, both Iwatani productions from 1979, or Atari's block-breaking efforts, unless you were a die-hard Namco fan, as myself. Thank you.